For today's video, I'll be driving the 2015 Porsche Cayman GTS. Impressions of this car are unbelievable. It sounds so good. The engine in this car is a 3.4 liter flat six, developing 340 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. And let me see if I can get a little acceleration here. Woo-hoo-hoo! My dad, he's following us with his Ducati, and that bike's a little bit faster than this car, but this thing still moves. I'm really impressed. The story behind the Porsche Cayman is that it evolved from the Porsche Boxster, and the Porsche Boxster was introduced in 1999, and the Boxster was more of the Porsche that everyone could afford. You know, it wasn't as ultimate as the 911, but also it wasn't that powerful. So as the Boxster grew up, it started to become more of a sports car that was fast. And then in 2006, the Cayman was introduced by Porsche, and I remember I was watching a Top Gear special on it, and they were saying how that if the Cayman was any faster or more powerful, that it would be better than a 911 because it's mid-engined, whereas in a 911 you have the engine right on the rear axles. And up until this point, the Cayman has always been limited in power and in performance because they don't want it to be better than a 911. So when they came out with the GTS, this GTS, it had 15 more horsepower than a regular Cayman S, and the testers at Motor Trend said that out of all of the cars, out of all of the 911s that they've tested, this was the fastest car, except for, you know, your GT3s, GT3 RSs. So this is a serious weapon, and as a lot of you know, the Porsche Cayman GT4, which is the step up from this car, so 385 horsepower, is the ultimate Porsche. And that car beats a lot of 911s around track. So if you can't have a GT4, the GTS is the next great thing. The transmission in this car is fantastic. Short throws, when you blip the throttle and punch it, and the overrun too. I don't know if you can hear that in here with this audio, but it's fantastic. I drove the Corvette Z06 last year, and it was maybe I can say similar to this car, but the sound of this car is it's like an eargasm. I don't even know how to describe it. When you downshift and you punch it, it just wails. Unbelievable. Right now I'm driving the car in Sport Plus mode. The car has a couple different modes. It has Sport, Sport Plus, and just normal driving mode. So if I turn off Sport Plus, right now I'm driving it in the softer suspension setting because the roads around here are not that good. And if I turn off the exhaust, the car is it's a completely different car. It's very quiet. You don't really notice that it's the beast, but you know that you have all of that power at your disposal, and I don't really know why you would want to drive the car in just the normal mode, but in the normal mode of the car, it's very calm. Right now, the valves and the exhaust are turned off, so if I accelerate, it's still loud, but there's not that much overrun and burbling and cracks and pops. But if I turn the exhaust mode on, there's a lot more overrun, and that exhaust button for me is the best part about this car. This interior is absolutely fantastic. The wheel on this car is very, very tiny, and I had the car up to maybe 7,000 RPM. I did not hit redline, and I know I just keep talking about the sound, but the sound is so good. And all of your different modes here, you have your Sport, Sport Plus, make your suspension stiffer or softer. This is how you can change the exhaust so it can make it louder or quieter. And Sport Chrono package, and these seats. The seats are just awesome. They hold me in so well. So I'm approaching this exit here, and this car is so planted. And these brakes, carbon ceramic discs, are fantastic. Acceleration in first. I'm on a back road now, and I'm gonna see how this car handles. So far, it's really, really rigid, but I have the car in the softer suspension setting, and it actually soaks up the bumps quite nicely. I was surprised by that. And also, this car has an auto blipper when you downshift. I did not know that. I was downshifting it and I was giving it gas, but if I just downshift, it will rev match for me, which is a really cool feature. This thing is fast. And the brakes too. This car has carbon ceramic brakes in the Sport Chrono package, but I've never driven a car with carbon ceramic discs before, and I have to put my foot on there, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters of pressure, and the car just stops. It's absolutely crazy how good the brakes are on this car. The steering in this car is absolutely fantastic. I feel everything through my hands here, and interior wise, there's leather everywhere. These seats make me feel so good. They hug my body, and when I go through corners, I don't move because they're right there to hold me into place. And I just can't get over this sound. I know I've talked about it over and over again, but you have to hear this car. And these brakes too. Carbon ceramic discs are incredible. These carbon ceramic discs are probably the greatest brakes I've ever driven with. They are so touchy, but braking is so awesome in this car. The car also has Pirelli P0 tires, and they are so hot and sticky right now, but you go around corners and you have so much grip. I can't, honestly, I would go up a gear just to go down a gear every time. Listen to that. You can't beat that. The 718 Boxster, and then now that it's going to be the 718 Cayman, is not going to sound the same as this car, because it's going to have the 4-cylinder. It's going to make plenty of power. You can make a lot of power out of a 4-cylinder, but it just won't sound like this car. It won't be the same. ultimately, this is probably my greatest car experience. I've driven cars like this before, but not to the speed or to the capacity that I've driven this car. It's just, I keep smiling because this is probably like the greatest day of my life. I know that may sound lame, but I just love this car so much. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is probably the most fun I've had in a while making these videos, and you can see by the smile on my face that this car is just absolutely fantastic. And like, subscribe, and there'll be plenty of more videos coming soon.